Welcome one, welcome all, and welcome to the Excellency Heavy League Summer Grand Finals. My name is Finnick, joined on the desk today by Boosted Success, AD Carry for Sparta Prime. How are you doing as we get ready to go in this best of 5 matchup between Who Flashed That Fight and Lotus Esports?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm hoping to see some really good games from some high-quality teams.
I'm excited to see this as well. Obviously, you got to play up against Who Flashed That Fight last season, last week, and Lotus throughout the season. So first, I kind of want your thoughts on these two teams. Where do you see the power coming from, and why are these teams in finals?
Well, obviously for Lotus, their bot lane, Waffle Wheel, that guy is just insane. I think he is the only AD carry this whole season that has ever put any pressure on me in lane, and I think that's respected in of itself. But Stingus just kind of plays safe and plays to his team's win con. But I think this is going to be a great finals no matter what, though.
And you were mentioning Stingus for Who Flashed That Fight. Who is kind of their power pick? Who is their player to watch here, as you mentioned, Waffle Wheel for Lotus?
It's kind of hard to say because they just play so well as a team. It feels like there's no real one standout player, but probably Baka, since he enables all of their plays.
All right, we are excited to get into the draft here for tonight. We are getting that draft ready in a second as the teams are getting ready in lobby. And before anything happens tonight, predictions. Who do you have winning and how many games? Give it on me. Play it on me.
I wanna go off a little bit off the rail here, and I want to say Lotus 3-1.
Okay, so bold prediction coming out here from Boosted Success. Obviously, you guys nearly won against Who Flashed That Fight last week. Could have been in the finals here, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. And you think Lotus is the better team between the two of them?
Yeah, I was actually kind of bummed that I didn't get to play against Waffle again because, I really enjoyed it last time. But I think he's just going to gap every team fight. His positioning is so solid. His mechanics are good. There's just not much more I can say about him. And
we'll see if he actually ends up getting in that position. Obviously, this is his toughest challenge yet. It is the far and away #1 seed going into playoffs. They've won every series up until this point, and we'll see if Who Flashed That Fight can make this happen as we move on to the draft. First band to come out from Who Flashed That Fight. We'll see if they decide to go target towards that Waffle Wheel in these bands.
It's kind of hard to target ban him because he plays so many different things so well. I think you have to get rid of his Aphelios, but also his Ezreal's kind of nasty, and he just do everything.
Well, the first ban is Thresh, followed by a Ziggs from Lotus. Of course, that Ziggs played last week by Who Flashed That Fight to some success, so no surprises there. Nocturne being banned away, get rid of the jungle/solo laner from these teams, and the Aurelia respect coming in for Lotus towards Who Flashed.
Yeah, I haven't played much since the patch came out yesterday, I think. But I don't know how far Aurelia has dropped since that nerf, but she was really, really busted the last patch, so I can understand why they want to get rid of it first rotation.
And as you mentioned, Waffle Wheel getting his Aphelios banned out from him. Nidalee being banned out in that jungle from Who Flashed That Fight. The first pick looks like it's going to be the Tristana. A pick that we've seen rise and fall throughout the year, but they baited us. No, it's the Tristana.
It's kind of weird that they had first pick Tristana here. Usually, me personally, I like picking her as an answer into some of the safer AD carries because she can just go in with a good support. But blind picking her, I don't know. It just feels kind of weird to me.
Diana on the docket, obviously very strong in the jungle at the moment. Can be played mid lane, but not really by Lotus. It's not really a champion we've seen JVL use to some effect, so that most likely will be in that jungle position for Lotus. They have one more pick to go on this rotation.
Yeah, the pick is kind of nuts. That level 6 power spike is no joke, and we've been scrimming with it a lot, and Muscle, you know how good he is. He just takes over the game once he hits level 6 on her, so I'm kind of excited to see what Lotus's jungler is going to do.
I'm excited to see what Muscle does as well. TK, though, recently reworked, has weaved his way into the meta, mostly as a support, although I've heard some grumblings of TK top maybe coming back in. TK, though, being picked up by Lotus. I mean, obviously, I think this is a support position. I don't really see it as an accelerate pick.
Oh god, please no. When Tom Kench was meta in the top lane, I hated my life as an AD carry because he was just so tanky, did so much damage. It felt like you can't do anything against him.
Leona, though, picked in response to the TK. Not really seen as a TK counter, so I'm interested to see if this is really just to go on with the dive with the Tristana, and what they decide to do with this team comp going forward.
It could be better into TK now that he doesn't have access to the Devour ability before level 6, so it's a lot harder to keep your AD carry alive if that is a Tahm Kench support. But yeah, I don't know about it.
GP in the top lane for Dusk to Dawn, though. Weak side. Top laner being picked up here, so it does dissuade certain picks from the top lane from Lotus, but we'll see what they decide to pick up here for Accelerate. I mean, Aatrox is still decent in the GP if they want to pick that here.
I think Lotus has to go with some sort of anti-dive here, because...
they picked Nautilus as TK top.
Well, Nautilus is really good, because with Who Flashed That Fight's team comp, it looks like they're going to try and force plays bot lane through GP6, through Leona, Tristana. Picking stuff that's really good against dive is really valuable for Lotus here. Stuff like Ezreal, I don't know, maybe even like Galio mid lane, or something that can teleport very easily.
Well, I already picked up their support here in the Nautilus, so I don't know if they want to pick a Galio R4. They'd probably say that to R5 if they want to pick it up in the mid lane. But AD carry pickups being banned away actually aren't even towards that Ezreal at the moment. It's the Jinx potentially being banned away from Waffle as they banned out the Talia from Donut Maker.
The Talia ban kind of makes sense because she can preventing dives, if that makes sense. She can prevent support coming to that bot lane. But I don't know, is Donut? I don't know if Donut plays a lot of Talia. Is that a target ban? Or?
I believe Donut plays not as much as Runeweaver, but I believe I've seen the Talia in solo queue stuff. I might be misremembering there, though. With this LeBlanc ban, though, that one is towards Donut Maker, of course, and there's the Ezreal ban, as you were kind of expecting here from Who Flashed That Fight. Lotus have to pick an AD carry here, I would expect, and then save counterpick for the mid lane.
I don't know who would be good here now, though. I'm kind of surprised they went with the Nautilus R3. You'd think that they would try and prioritize that Ezreal and try to go for a better matchup into Leona, but who else is even available right now? All the stuff that's like very vulnerable to dive. Oh, Xayah. Okay, Xayah. That makes sense.
Yeah, it has plenty of safety in the lane. Also quite a bit of team fight, a little bit more burst centric, but when you're up against your Tristana, you have a better mid game than the Tristana, so you should be able to make that happen. We can start looking at these power spikes. Who Flashed That Fight? Gangplank obviously scales in the late game. Tristana has very good level 1 through 5, and obviously a very strong late game as well. Meanwhile, Lotus, they've got Diana, they got Xayah, definitely mid-game power spikes. With the TK top lane, they're going to have a beefy front line if it does get to that late game. But there's the Trundle, kind of picking to the TK, most likely Trundle jungle, I would have to assume, considering the GP's already been picked.
Yeah, my only issue with the Xayah pick is that she's only safe after level 6. Ooh, wait, hold on. Is that actually Lux? No way.
No. There's no way they pick Lux.
You know, I don't know. I feel like I've seen everything.
No, you got to pick a diver, and Echo is right there. Get that assassin on Donut Maker. Get on those big plays. Obviously, we saw in the hype video, he had that big play on Diana week 1 that we're still talking about to this day. Echo very similar with the phase dive plus the parallel convergence. Can make some of those big plays happen. That said, counter pick in the mid lane. You were mentioning Galio potentially from Lotus. Galio is an Echo counter.
Yeah, I think it has so much value here, just being anti-dive. I don't know if I like that, but it does well into the mid game, late game fights. But I think you got to protect your bot lane a little bit more than Cassio Diana. If you ever fight a 4v4, you're probably gonna lose early.
Well, it's not only that about the cast pick. It's decent into the Echo. Obviously, Miasma just prevents Echo from engaging on you in the lane, right? But at the same time, and it's good against dive, like decently good against dive with Miasma as well. But at the same time, it feels like, to me, Lotus has like two different power spikes that they have to play around, because Cassiopeia really doesn't come online until much later. That's why she hasn't been a huge priority pick in the mid lane, because the meta has been dominated by mid-game spiking mid laners, like the Viego, obviously, that we've seen a lot in Pro. So it's interesting. Cassiopeia hasn't been super popular, but at the same time, it is good in a dive, and it should be able to go toe-to-toe and gangplank at the side lane come late game.
Yeah, definitely. But I feel like, you know, Xayah is seen as a pretty safe AD carry, but she's only safe after level 6. If Trundle can make his way down there and force engages with the Leona, she can't really escape before level 6. And if you get big enough of a lead, then you can really start snowballing with that team comp.
And we'll see if they are able to snowball. I mean, as we take a look at win conditions here, so we know the win condition for who flash the fight. It's dive, get the ball rolling, and just continue on it. You have a lot of late game dive potential as well. What are win conditions for Lotus here?
Kiting out these fights, just making who flash that fight run into you, and your counter engage has to be on point. You stop the initial engage with the Miasma, the Xayah ult, dodge out big abilities, and then you go in with Nautilus Diana. That's how I feel like Lotus wins these fights.
And we'll see if they're able to make that happen as we are into the in-game picks and bans. We're going to know for sure if this is the top lane Tahm Kench. I assume it is, just because top lane Nautilus has been not a thing since Season 6. So I would once again assume the top lane TK is a GP. Not really a matchup I'm familiar with, because top lane TK was only a thing for a couple of patches and it only recently started coming back in. So what are your thoughts on the matchup?
I feel like it's kind of like with every GP matchup. He wins like level 1 through level 3 pretty hard. But I mean, eventually Tahm Kench is just going to kind of ignore his damage. I feel like with Tahm Kench especially, he can just kind of fight GP after like level 6.
And this is reworked Tahm Kench as well, so doesn't have the slows to the same ability that he once did when he was super oppressed in the top lane. So maybe could get more punished by this GP 1 to 3 than what we're initially thinking. On to the jungle matchup, though, we have Trundle versus Diana.
I feel like Trundle should just win that early, especially with the prio that he should get from Echo, I think. I'm actually not 100% sure on how that mid lane matchup goes, but I feel like Echo just does more damage and can help the 2v2 more than Cassio early. I mean, I definitely could be wrong, but...
I'm with you there. Echo obviously has a lot of burst-oriented damage in the early game. Cassiopeia needs a couple points in the Twin Fang to actually start doing a boatload of damage. Moving on to that bot lane, though, it is Tristana Leona versus Xayah Nautilus, and you were already talking Xayah's not super safe until level 6. So I would have to assume you think this lane is going to be Tristana Leona favored.
Yes. I mean, historically, Leona's been pretty good into Nautilus, so it was kind of interesting that they picked it, but I feel like Tristana Leona can just engage on whoever and just win the fight, because Leona's just way too tanky, and, you know, Tristana's early game damage is kind of nuts with the Halo Blades and the bomb.
Indeed, and obviously that turret push that comes out from the Tristana early is nothing to be trifled with. Perhaps they play for the early dragon and then a first breakdown bottom side. Lotus maybe plays towards that Rift Herald instead. That said, you know, we've gone through the draft, we've gone through the win cons, we've gone through the lanes. Who do you expect to win this one?
Off of this game, I think it should be who flashed that fight.
Alrighty, then we will go to a quick break, but when we come back, Necrox, DJ, and RMC will be with you guys and take you into game 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our finals here in Excellency Heavy League between Who Flashed That Fight and Lotus. long at last. We see who claims excellency and the empty throne. It's 3 years of a drought for Lotus, and it's a history of taking titles for Who Flashed That Fight and Stingus. And we're going to see who wins in just a short best of 5 series.
I don't know when you joined Lotus, Necrox, but it must, I guess, feel like 3 years. I think it's been about 3 splits here, but maybe that's what it feels like for Lotus, because it has been a very long time. They have been here for a very long time, and this is try number 2. Once again, it's not the same players, but it's the same energy from Who Flashed That Fight as VBO, and they 3-0'd them just 2 splits ago. This is a very different Lotus team, though, and I think they've got a much better shot this time around than they did last time, Necrox.
And not only is Lotus right now going for that throne, but we call it a nameless throne right now because there's no one there. Who Flashed That Fight is not the current winners here. They won 2 splits ago, and they want their throne back more than anything else. I'm looking at Stingus as well. We talked about Stingus getting snubbed here.
They got that ward early there in the bush. Dokdo getting that extra EXP. I mean, you think it's funny, but if you tick level 6 a little bit before the enemy bottom lane, that could be a difference maker. Waffle Wheel does have the cleanse available, but it is something that could come into play if this lane goes well for the likes of Who Flashed That Fight.
And you say level 6, I'm looking at level 2 with this Leona, right? This is a kill lane down here. If they get the level 2 first, they just go in immediately onto this Nautilus, onto the Xayah. Even with Cleanse, it's not going to save you from the sheer burst damage they can put out.
Okay, Jimmy already doing some invading here, looking to take away Yoshi's buff. Level 2 in for the junglers, and they're taking their opportunity to make things happen.
And if there's one thing we know about Jimmy Necrox, it's that he loves to get aggressive, get in your face, just like Donut Maker's doing here in mid lane. But you can see the trade coming back. Look at this. Look at this at level 2.
He doesn't care. He can just go in. This is a Trundle, and Diana is not an early game jungler. So we saw Yoshi seeing it. But what could Yoshi do? Just watch as your Gromp gets taken. And now JVL has to be careful because you know where Jimmy's going to go. And we said, I believe I've been told before that Jimmy loves camping this mid lane.
Oh, it's not just the mid lane. It's JVL's mid lane, RMC. He loves camping JVL's mid lane in particular. Stingus mentioned it in the interview. We've all seen it before, and you can see that early ward was out there in that bottom brush for JVL. He knows where to look. He knows where to watch, and he knows who's coming for him.
Love to see it from these two. Jimmy really putting on the pressure here as Yoshi will have to go blue buffless on his first clear of the finals matchup. Now working his way towards this bottom crab. Gonna be met with some heavy resistances though. Will not be able to take that one without any sort of punishment, but actually gets it, no problem.
Yep, he gets it, and I know we've been hyping Jimmy up in this early game as kind of getting things done, but I will say if we do actually take a broader look at this game, we don't actually expect a whole lot to happen in this early game, do we, gentlemen? This is a composition on both sides that really do want to scale up. There are some options for both, but when you look at it, where do you really find a play either pre-level 6 when you have something like a Gangplank in the top lane? Well, you could look bot side.
Hook's gonna land on a Dokdo. Now he's looking to get away. The Zenith blade and a flash over the wall is gonna get him to safety. Dokdo and Sting is using 2 summoners, but surviving the first gank attempt from Lotus.
And this is why DJ says we're not expecting too much action. That was a good gank attempt. You could see the angle Yoshi came in from was absolutely beautiful. By the time they actually saw Yoshi, Dokdo and Stingus didn't have a great escape path. We did see the flash burn from Dokdo, but it's still not going to be able to actually nail the kill there. And for Jimmy, it's even worse. You're a Trundle. You don't even have a gap closer, unfortunately, to get in there. So all you can kind of do is farm up, get the pressure, and Jimmy's doing it, but Donut Maker isn't. Donut is down right now. What is that? 15, 16 CS right now in the mid lane?
It's pretty rough stuff here for Donut Maker in this early stage. You can see why JBL opted for the Casio counter, doing pretty well in the mid lane. And so is Just to Dawn here on top side. Even in TS, but has gotten an early base to grab that coal for a little bit of a payoff in the later stages.
And that was an interesting decision. Hold on here as Yoshi. He's still trying to make some heads. So level 3, Necrox.
Okay, Yoshi's level 3, Dustodon's level 5, missing the barrel by just a mark. The Abyssal Voyage now reworked will not find the knock up there for Accelerate, and gank attempt number 2 gonna fail as well.
Yeah, Yoshi really trying to make stuff happen in the early game, but it is costing him quite a bit. He farms his Krugs. He still had a camp available, Necrox, and he's down 14 CS. It's nearly 3 camps, and it's only going to get worse as Jimmy's in his jungle again. He is really sacrificing a lot for these plays that are not coming off.
Yeah, and it's a bit of a mixed bag here why Yoshi is doing this. On the one hand, you're falling behind, but it's a catch-22 because you are behind already. You don't have an option but to gank. Your jungle camps aren't spawning quick enough, and every time they're spawning, Jimmy's there. Now, Yoshi's getting picked on by the mid laner as well.
Nice flash away from Yoshi to avoid the parallel convergent stun from Donut Maker. But the priority earned in the mid lane is going to force yet another summoner away from Lotus as Accelerate's looking to make an aggressive trade topside happen, but Dusk too clean with those GP movements will escape once again.
Yeah, Tom Kent's a strong champion, but again, this is a gangplank, not the traditional melee that Tom has been super busted into. So should be just fine up there, should Dusk. But someone who's not fine, it's Yoshi. He is not having a good time, gentlemen, in this early game. Getting picked on by Donut Maker in a brief window when Donut Maker could actually roam from this lane, which he has very little control over. So Lotus, they're keeping it close to the rest of their farm, but Yoshi, he is going to be very far behind and still has a level or 2 to go. Actually 2 to get to that critical level 6.
Now, for Lotus here, they're okay with this sort of slow pace of game. As long as they're not dying, they're good. And I love the fact that Accelerate is actually winning his lane. Not just because we heard Accelerate, the bit of trash talk between Dustodon and Accelerate, but also because if there is a lane that is nice to sort of get ahead and apply pressure externally, it is this top side. Your Cassio will get there, your Zaya will get there here, and they're not going to be as impactful. Jimmy, once again invading, and this time...
Okay, here comes a cannon barrage over the top of his head, going low to about a 5th HP again with Jimmy in his jungle. Has to call JVL over after the teleport was expended in the mid lane. Jimmy, again, making things happen without even much help from his lanes. Just getting in there, taking away Yoshi's camps.
Yeah, and I mean, the GP ulti is expended, but I think it's going to be up in plenty of time for the next camp or objective that Who Flashed That Fight wants to go on. The dragon is up. No one's really been interested in it so far. Donuts?
He's all right.
Say that was close. Should also point out that JVL did use teleport to get back into lane. Everybody else's teleport is up. So as long as Donut Maker doesn't drop here, technically has the chrono break, has the teleport to get back into lane. I believe he's actually holding that 1 skill point still on that chrono break so that you can't see where the shadow is right now. Dragon is up though. And DJ, I know you said that the Cannon Barrage should be up, but if for the side of Lotus here, if they want to force Dragon, they know that won't be available. And in a 5v5 right now, if they wait for Yoshi to hit 6, I think they might actually be able to win that 5v5.
Agree with you there, but they do have to wait for him to hit 6, and we talked about the fact that this is a composition, a team that is very happy scaling. Okay, yeah, there's the orange is gonna say.
Accelerate! Just solo kills Dustodon out of nowhere. Eat your oranges all you want. The catfish is the first one to find a snack, and it's first blood for Lotus in your finals. Now it's Kiwiism looking for an engage on the bot side under Dokdo and Stingus. The feathers are going to be called back, but they will not find any roots. But it's first blood all the same to your crownless team in Lotus.
Yeah, and we kind of saw it coming, right? The Tomcat is already winning multiple times. Bot side again, Dokdo.
Ooh, Summoner's expended. Now top side looking for a play once again, but Jimmy's here to make it a 2v2. Accelerate and Dustodon in a 1v1. But Accelerate has no escape route. He pops the thick skin, but now it's time to return the snack, man. It's feasting time as Jimmy chomps him down.
Yep, Jimmy gonna pick up his first kill back in for Who Flashed That Fight. That VBO energy, it's not the first blood, but it is a good return kill. Dustodon had his TP, so he didn't really miss out on all too much, and I think that will largely negate the losses for Who Flashed That Fight and let them pick up that first Drake. So nicely done by the jungle top. They've talked about their synergy together so many times before, and you can see it once again as Jimmy picking up his boy.
We are also seeing Herald go down right now. Who Flashed That Fight should have control over all the objectives just because Yoshi is really not in the game here. But Yoshi does have backup in a way. All the lanes are winning for Lotus here. Top side, Accelerate is literally winning that 1v1. Mid lane, JVL last time we checked, it was like a 15 CS differential. We're starting to push almost 30 right now for this Cassiopeia, who will scale so much better than the Echo. And in the bot lane, while the CS numbers are the same for Waffle Wheel and Stingus, remember that Waffle Wheel is the late game expert. He is the AD carry who really starts to come on, post 20 minutes and then starts killing everybody. Stingus, on the other hand, maybe not known for the late game carry quite as much here.
Yeah, and this is why I think all three of us were a little interested with the draft. Hold on here. Okay, good flash by JVL as he sees that solar flare coming in. Very nicely done. He continues to stay in control of the mid lane, and control is what Lotus want, right? Who Flash Up I drafted this Echo, allowed the counter pick to come in. I know for a fact that Donutmaker is an extremely capable Echo player. I think Stingus has mentioned multiple times how good he is, but it's just such an easy counter pick for JVL. He loves the Cassio. You have the range into melee, and this Cassio no longer takes 30 minutes to come online like in the past. We have heard from multiple sources that, it really only takes the mythic and the tier. They're going for an all-in.
Oh, JVL! Solo kills Donutmaker, the miasma, executed perfectly from the Lotus mid laner, and they find their second solo kill in game 1. Even without his flash, makes it happen there in the mid lane. Was rough stuff for him, not able to find it. Now the root's gonna land. There's the flash hook in from Kiwi, the dredge line, the depth charge, and Dodo is down. It's Waffle Wheel grabbing a kill on that, using the feathers, trying to lock up Stingus. But the rocket jump will get the mastermind to safety, and Lotus pick up number 3.
Just as we were saying, the lanes are winning here. They're really starting to turn it on. And a couple of things I want to highlight in those plays there. First, JVL won that 1v1. Yes, there was backup. The backup didn't matter whatsoever. And unfortunately for Donutmaker, he's got to be careful. Did not even chrono break that here because he was sitting on that Noxious Miasma. So he has to keep that in mind. If he's going in for that, you can't be on that during those fights here. You absolutely have to get off that massive bot side once again, though. This is kind of dicey for Waffle and Kiwism.
Waffle has flash, but he has the ulti. Immediately burns the flash, and there's the rocket jump away from Stingus, but it's Accelerate showing up with a teleport. Don't believe you'll be able to find all too much there with the return angle. JVL going pretty low. Remember, Donutmaker still has his ulti. The Petrifying Gaze is beautifully dodged by Donutmaker. Now finishing off the kill, and the snake has been turned into a pair of boots as Donutmaker takes him out.
My God, that was beautiful from Donutmaker. We've been saying it over and over. Cassio is such a good matchup into this Echo, and JVL's been showing it. Yoshi's trying to hold him off. This Rift, this is going to take the full turret, Necrox. This is massive. I don't know if this is enough damage. Can he get him down, Jimmy?
Yoshi, no!
Yoshi out to flash away, but it's Donut picking up kill number 2, and the Rift Herald will cash into the turret as well. Who flashed that fight, find a massive swing of gold right back in their favor.
And it's just this gold deficit, this experience deficit for Yoshi right now. You're under a turret. You get the Moonfall. That should be the kill, and we do get ourselves, we were supposed to get ourselves a bit of a replay for that 1v1 in the mid lane, but yes, instead we get a bit of a 1v1 between the casters, and here we are still not going, okay. We can okay, here we go. There you go. And the important thing this time is you can see that Donutmaker's not on the Miasma. JVL doesn't nail the Petrifying Gaze. And you can see throughout that fight, Donutmaker's constantly turning around. He's making it so difficult to land that. And then Yoshi here, that was an attempt. And I don't blame him for trying here. He just didn't have enough damage. You're there, you're under the turret here. And the Moonfall catches both of them. Or actually, nah, that's the problem right there. It only caught Jimmy, unfortunately. If it had managed to catch Donutmaker, then Donutmaker probably wouldn't be tanky enough to go back in or that second attempt.
Wonderfully done here by the likes of Who Flashed That Fight, finding a kill onto Donut, and then doubling that immediately onto Yoshi, who has been thoroughly outclassed this game, as Who Flashed That Fight are going to cash in on their lead and continue to pressure this map, grabbing themselves a dragon to boot.
Yeah, and speaking of a lead, right, where did this lead come from? This game, for the first 10, 12 minutes, was all Lotus. Everything was going according to plan. JVL looked great on the Cassiopeia, farming up on those 2 scaling carries. Everything looked great, and all of a sudden, Who Flashed That Fight show us why they are at the top of the league, why they were the 1 seed, one of the only teams in the league that can apply the pressure that you need to uncork this Lotus roster that so very often waits for that late game, for their power players to come online and tear you apart in team fights. Who Flashed That Fight, certainly not out of the woods yet. They need to do more to avoid an eventuality, but that is the kind of play you need to be making.
Yeah, and more important to me here right now is the fact that they took down the mid lane outer turret, DJ. And we talked about the fact that Who Flash and Fight need to accelerate things. The best way for them to do that is to start making plays here, grouping up and trying to force things around here.
Are we gonna have to fire you, RMC, for like the third time? Accelerate, like. I'm not sure about this one.
I did not even get. I was so
he didn't even recognize that one. Come on, dude.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah. Well, they do have to pick up the pace of the game. That is what they want to do. And they've got the tools to do it right now. Dust to Dawn could probably just 1v1 this.
Okay, Dust to Dawn making it a 2v1 now as Accelerate has to use the ulti. Spitting Yoshi right back out under the turret. But it's Kiwi looking for the flash engage in the bottom side. Traded right back on down onto Waffle Wheel. The cleanse is going to be used, but Yoshi going to the stopwatch only to die in a moment's notice. Jimmy's going to grab that kill now as the bot lane 2v2 continues to manifest. The Blade Caller will not find the route onto Dokdo, which means Kiwi is a master to go a little bit further in just to support Waffle Wheel's attempt. But it's Sting is turning things around. Now he has a rocket jump, making it even harder. There he goes for some more damage. Double kill on over to this Tristana. Stingus wipes away Lotus's attempt at a 2v2 and says, Snub AD carry be damned.
And the emote spam. Stingus was saying that he doesn't have to make the early game calls. He's going to bot gap you. There it is. The double kill comes in against the tier 1, the all-pro AD carry and Waffle Wheel. They're going to pick up a turret on the back end of things, too. This is a massive swing for Who Flashed That Fight. JVL's in behind him, but I don't think he can get him. Yoshi.
Okay, Yoshi lands the Crescent, but will not be able to follow up. And Stingus and Dokdo 2v2 kill in the bot lane and escape in style.
Waffle Wheel Coach Sting is starting a little early here with the coach and showing you how it's done. And it's such a strong series of events that we're seeing across the map here, right? We already knew that Jimmy was stronger, so that top side's always going to belong to Jimmy. But the fact that Stingus and Dokdo won that 2v2, and that was a mechanical win. That wasn't, a tactical win. They didn't have an advantage. They just played that better there. They get the bot side turn. And remember how I was saying they need to start roaming together a little bit more to speed up the pace of the game? Well, mid lane inner turret went down as well. And now for Who Flashed That Fight, you can start setting up for these big objectives here, for the Baron, for the Dragon in 2 minutes as well. And this top lane turret, it's low. It's bait. Accelerate has been having such a nice time just chilling up here. You can't do that anymore because they can now 3-man dive you with impunity.
Lotus up here on top side, 4-man strong, was trying to defend their last outer turret, but now will rotate away, understanding that Who Flashed That Fight are not pursuing that objective any further. Just now to mid lane they go. Dragon, it is third Drake here for a Cloud Soul in 1 minute and 10 seconds. And Lotus, if they want a way back into this game, it's either got to be through Dragon stacking, which has not gone their way so far, or through finding some creative angles in team fights.
I think Lotus are fine not stacking Drakes themselves. I mean, they are traditionally also a team that doesn't like to stack Drakes that much. They typically like to fight around the third Drake, which is the one coming up. But I do think this is a bit of a different scenario than the ones they normally fight in Necrox. Usually, I think, pretty close in gold when they do it. This time around, they will not be there, very far behind. And now they're going on Waffle again.
Waffle has to ult away with the Feather Storm, plus the GP ult going to be used though, so ult for ult trade, both will not be up.
That's going to be a very important cooldown to watch here. This is patch 11.15. We are on live. Zaya's ultimate cooldown got nerfed a little bit.
Wait, JBL's just getting run down by the Trundle. Petrifying Gates dodged again, and it's Who Flashed That Fight. They've had JBL's number all night long. There's a Chrono Break back in the team. Kiwi's going to try to hook himself back to the turret. Should not die. Solar Flare committed as well. Kiwi down to about a 5th HP once again, but he will survive. Who Flashed That Fight? Multiple cooldowns being burned, but Lotus, no one goes down just quite yet.
Yeah, a little much being expended there underneath the turret, but I think the main reason it is because the Drake is coming up. The more damage you get down there, the less likely it is that Lotus can contest. And you can see they are not in time, they are not interested, and now it's sole point for Who Flashed That Fight. This is the acceleration, this is the early game presence you need to have to disrupt this Lotus team, this Lotus strategy, and this Waffle Wheel eventuality that everyone here in Heavy League has been talking about all season. It's just a few minutes away now from Who Flashed That Fight. The last steps, the last pieces of the puzzle, they're coming together, but they're not quite there just yet.
And I will say as well, I did feel like they expended a little bit more than they needed to. The Solar Flare just felt a little bit gratuitous. Waffle Wheel's ultimate, we were just talking about the fact that Xayah's ultimate got buffs, not nerfed. The cooldown has been reduced. So it is such a strong tool, but the moment it's blown, you're unlikely to see Lotus look to pick those fights. They are going to rely on Waffle Wheel and JVL, and the flash getting burnt from JVL already. Your job was done. Accelerate has to be a little careful here.
This is a Tahm Kench. She's pretty tanky. Nice Abyssal Voyage out. Gonna be stunned up by Dokdo. Locked down, but the flash will be expended from the Lotus top laner just to avoid the chain CC. Now it's Kiwism flashing, hooking onto Dokdo. There's the knock up. The Blade Caller's gonna find the root. Ignited Chicken, and the Feather's gonna find the mark. Ignite still gonna be used, and Kiwi's grabbing the kill. Now the Tongue Lash will not find Stingus on the escape route, but Lotus punish the overextension from the Who Flashed That Fight support.
Yeah, that flash felt very late from Dokdo over the wall as the Ignites ticked. Oh my god, Stingus, he's rooted up.
Jimmy is in the front lines here. Kiwi is immediately deleted with a nice one-shot. Now the Feathers are going to be called back. Yoshi in the middle of everyone. They found Donut Maker before he could get the ult off, and it's 2 kills to Lotus so far. Dustodon still in a 1v1 with Accelerate, but it's just too hard to kill this damn catfish, and he's flashing to the wrong side of the rift. This is not your real estate to operate in. You're on the wrong side of town, my friend. Pass the kill on over to Waffle Wheel, and the transfer's complete as Lotus claim 4.
Baron, right away, Baron, you didn't even need to send that many people after Dustodon. Accelerate can finish him off alone. You go for Baron, and suddenly Lotus have just turned the game here. Who Flash Fight, Word Control are still up almost 4,000 gold. But after you take Baron, all of that is negated. More importantly, Waffle Wheel didn't even have to blow out
Jimmy
during that fight. He can't. It's a Trindle.
Okay, it's secured by Lotus, but it's Who Flashed That Fight looking for a fight. Nice ulti and escape from Accelerate with a reworked Tahm Kench, but he's going to be stunned up by this parallel convergence. He's going to die. It's sacrifice from Lotus to escape with 4 members wearing Baron, and another TP in from Dustodon is going to pursue. They try to pursue any further if possible, but there is no engage angle to be found, so it's Lotus escaping with 4 members as Who Flashed That Fight continue the siege.
Yeah, the TP looks gratuitous, but I think Who Flashed That Fight just recognized they can try to get the play, and if it doesn't work, they take the turret and they get out, right? This is what the TPs are expended for. This will slow the Baron push. You can see this wave is way deep into Lotus territory on the top side of the map. That will hurt their push, but they are in control. Tahm Kench, he might have been reworked, but his fate is the same when it comes to objectives, gentlemen, and that is you die for the team.
You're absolutely right, DJ. And the fact that you TP in to push that turret also nullifies a lot of this Baron timer. Already 1 minute's gone on it. There's only 2 minutes left for Lotus to push. And look at their lane states. They're shoved in every single lane. How are they going to get Baron out? Dragon's coming up in a minute 30 as well. And for the side of Who Flash and Fight, you can give this Dragon up. It's just a Cloud Drake, a singular Cloud Drake. But for Lotus, they might not want to do that. They do have to be careful about getting run down. Those the movement speed buff could help quite a bit to this team that has to chase down Xayah.
Yeah, and for this Lotus team, it's about stabilizing the game at this point. They were not ready for the action that Stingus and Who Flashed That Fight brought to them early on, and they have gotten themselves in a pretty deep hole to dig through, as now the recalls come through, using this Baron buff just to push out waves and get some sort of vision down in this river.
I do think the hole is getting a little smaller, right? The gold deficit already is being reduced by this Baron push, but more importantly, this gold gap gets smaller as items come through because the Lotus members just wear items better than a lot of the members of Who Flashed That Fight. And if you look at some of the critical members, 2 items now on the 2 carries, and that second item in particular is super nice for JVL's Cassiopeia. So they are very close. I mean, they're basically online, and every item from here on out just makes them stronger and stronger, assuming they don't just get blown up by some sort of barrel chain from Dusk.
And they're looking for JVL a little bit here. I love the fact that you bring it up. Are they going to be able to fight him?
Petrifying Gaze going to be used. The pillar using itself to keep JVL in place. He's burning to the subjugate, but will not die, I do not believe. At double-digit HP, but now it's the other end of the fight going not their direction. Who Flashed That Fight? Dokdo's been caught out again, and he will fall. But it is Who Flashed That Fight still sieging the base, cracking open top lane inhibitor. And Lotus will take this time while that top lane is being pushed to grab themselves their first dragon of the game, denying soul to Flash That Fight as they retreat away from the siege top side.
Baron is over now. That was the entirety of Lotus's Baron. I I wish we had the numbers because I think it was negative. And the inhibitor gets taken by Who Flashed that fight, despite giving up the Baron there. Sure, like I said, you can take the Cloud Drake. That's fine. That's cute. You got one Cloud Drake. They got your inhibitor, and now they can siege up once again. And this is, I feel like, how Who Flashed that fight has found their wins all split long. They played better macro. We will put you in tough trades. You might get something, but we will get something too. And because we're already ahead, eventually we'll trade your Nexus for something else on the map.
Yeah, I mean, supporting a Cloud Drake feels pretty darn good for an inhibitor RMC. That's a trade I would take any day of the week. And with a Trundle who can just continually force you down, right? Divine Sunder already in. He's got that Titanic Hydra. You can see what Jimmy's going for here. This is bonk you, Trundle. This is no front. I mean, it can be frontline Trundle, right? He steals stats, but this is bonk Trundle. And with these structures already falling, it could be very, very quick devastation of the base at any point if Lotus screw up from here on out. Tristana and Trundle will absolutely shred these turrets, and Who Flashed that fight's doing a great job of opening a secondary win condition for themselves outside of the Soul, using the Soul as a magnet.
And I mean, they have so many options coming, all right? It's not just the Soul. Baron's coming up in a minute 40 as well, and they can always turn and look at that. The inhib won't be up before the Baron spawns as well, so you do have that little bit of pressure there. The split push option is available, and we did see Kiwism pick up the Anathema's chains. Just for clarity here, it is on Donut Maker here. They are trying to nullify the assassin. Personally, I'm not sure that's the right call for Kiwism. I understand it's not so much damage reduction. They're just trying to CC up the Echo as long as possible. But from what we've seen in the fight so far, the CC hasn't managed to land that much on Donut Maker. A lot of it is coming down on Jimmy, on even Dust to Dawn. But Donut Maker has been allowed to rampage your backline fairly unchecked.
Yeah, and I've got to argue that even Stingus has been left unchecked in this game as well, even taking advantage of the 2v2 in the bottom lane. There's just so many threats here from Who Flashed that fight that it's hard for Lotus to decide who they want to lock down and blow up in a fight before they can engage on the rest.
One important point to note, 2:30 before the next Drake does spawn. 3 items now available for Waffle Wheel. That is a big purchase with the Infinity Edge. Now is when you really start to dish out some damage on Xayah. Part of the reason she's not been in the meta very much is she can't really access damage, and it takes her a while to do a lot of damage. Well, you're doing damage now, Waffle, so we are starting to reach that late game condition, that Waffle Wheel win condition. The question is going to be, do Who Flashed that fight even want to give them that option in a team fight around an objective?
Yeah, and I'm not sure that they have a choice. They'll have to fight somewhere, right? I think it's more actually on Lotus to decide how they want to do this here. And I wouldn't be surprised if they just blitz down the Baron as quickly as you can. So Who Flashed that fight is there to match it. I love the fact you mentioned that Waffle is online, because up to now, I think JVL has been doing the bulk of the carrying here, and they found Dustodon.
Dustodon can be knocked up, rooted. GP ult's gonna be used, but he fails his flash over the wall. And Kiwi's Ignite will find the kill. Now he's flashing forward, looking for even more. Donut Maker has to use the ult. He just retreat back to bottom lane where he teleported from. And with a numbers disadvantage, it's Lotus starting the Baron.
That's illegal. Jimmy's trying to go for this. He's got the flash, but he misses it.
He doesn't get the steal, and he will pay for his life as the Twin Fangs sink into reality for Who Flashed that fight. They thought they had this game on lock, but one mistake, one misstep, and it's Lotus grabbing themselves a second Baron. Bot tier 2 will fall as Donut Maker uses all of his siege effort to knock that one over, but Lotus still wear that purple.
You know, who flashed that fight? I don't know, but I know who failed to flash that fight properly. That's gonna really hurt for them here. And the last time we saw the Baron power play from Lotus, they didn't accomplish anything with it here. Who Flashed the fight once again have them in a really good position where all the lanes are shoved in. So I want to see Lotus kind of group up and push properly this time. Your top lane inhibitor is about to come back up here, so you will have that safety soon enough. And you've got TP on JVL. He can always join the fight if there is one that breaks up.
Yeah, I mean, 20 seconds, 7 turrets to 0 will push you back into your base, RMC, but it looks like they have enough members to muster an assault on this Drake. As this Baron buff continues to tick, looks like the call from Who Flashed that fight is to disrupt. All the members are funneling in here towards this soul.
Okay, it's Lotus with the first time I feel like that have priority over an objective, and their team is designed to kite backwards. It is designed to protect the two carries in JBL and Waffle Wheel. There's still a flank available. JBL's cut off for now, but Dragon is getting burned down. Jimmy has no flash to get his way in, and Dragon's gonna fall over, secured by Waffle Wheel. It is Dragon number 2, but it's Who Flashed That Fight that are still looking to end the game. Why are you napping at Dragon when they're knocking on your base? Now it's Kiwi looking for an engage. The knockup's gonna be out of Stingus, but it's a nice buster shot. Waffle Wheel flashes forward and takes down Stingus. Now it's a double kill on over the 80 carries. They look for even more. The Moonfall's gonna find Justin Dawn as he's killed once again. Accelerate taking one more kill for himself, and it's Lotus that wipe away 3. They've got Baron. They stop Soul. They take their fight. Now they're on the march down mid lane.
Couple minutes left on the Baron. Lotus need to take advantage. This is the first time all game they've had multiple critical members of Who Flashed That Fight down, and for the first time we could see them take control back. It's 8 turrets to 0 before that mid lane turret falls. Now finally they can have some control.
They're pushing as hard as they can right now, and Donut Maker here is trying to find something on the back end of it. I just don't know if it's enough. And I do believe that we actually have a replay of the base fight of that portion after the Drake here. And so we saw the Drake portion of it, but you can see that Dustodon Stingers, they are pushing up as far as they can. And the job is stall as much as you can, just stop them from being able to go in. But Kiwiism, no fear. And that initiate didn't look good, but Waffle Wheel was right there. And they didn't have vision of Waffle Wheel coming up. The moment you kill Stingus, the fight is done and dusted. You get to turn that, and that really is what enables Lotus to get this inhibitor push.
Okay, last little update on what's just happened. Donut Maker has knocked down the final remaining turret for Who Flashed That Fight. Lotus now only on inhibitors and Nexus turrets. They have nothing left to defend. Ulti's traded as well between Donut and JVL in that process. Nothing to worry about there. But Lotus, man, they are on death's door. But Who Flashed That Fight, man, they're not too far away themselves.
Yeah, I mean, they're not too far away, but I do think team fighting becomes very tricky for Who Flashed That Fight. Now, again, Jimmy is not building a frontline build. He is going to get shredded by Cassiopeia regardless at this point in the game. 3 items with penetration for JVL working on that Void Staff. 4 items on Waffle Wheel. This is not easy. The best option very much looking like some sort of split, some sort of backdoor with these champions, with the Echo, with the Trundle, with the Tristana, if they can pull it off. But that in and of itself is not going to be easy.
Yeah, and right now, Lotus, they're a team fight monster. We've seen them win these team fights back to back to back. And Who Flashed That Fight have options to team fight, but you also have split push options. And I really think that's what you go for right now. Donut Maker's shown that he can do it. Dustodon can do it. You've got an open base right now. You don't really need that many minions, so I'd rather see them not engage for a fight. There's no major objective on the map right now. Just split them up and pick them off.
Okay, all down to 1 fight in game 1. Pretty sure whoever wins this fight has enough time after the death timers to pursue an angle to end game 1 down mid lane. Either way, it is the Lotus who have gone crownless in Heavy League, and Who Flashed That Fight led by Stingus, the greatest mastermind that Excellency Heavy has ever seen. Both these two teams feel they have a right to the throne, and it's only 1 fight away, and it's gonna start now. It's gonna be pulled on to Jimmy as he just gets evaporated. There is no more space for this troll under the bridge as Lotus wipe him away. It is 4v5 on the map. JBL still having to defend, but Baron is not up for another 45 seconds. They might look to chase down Dustodon.
I mean, they're just going to dive him, right? There's no reason not to.
They're going under the turret. Dustodon's in a bad spot. He has no cavalry. He has no reinforcements. Kiwi's going to pick up the kill, but it is still Donut Maker ruling this side lane threat in the bot side. It is pressuring the inhibitor of Lotus.
What is Stingus? Stingus is a doctor. Whoa, JVL. He's out.
Scary.
Stingus Doctor, they're trying to do this. They can get collapsed on. If they lose these 3 members here, this is a nightmare. Baron's come up in 15 seconds.
Donut Maker having to use the ulti, but Yoshi's at 50% HP, both going golden at the same time. Into the Zanya's miasma's perfect from JBL to deny the escape. Yoshi's gonna fall, but it does not matter. It's only your support traded away for the enemy mid laner and top laner and support. They lose Yoshi in the process, but what else can Lotus get? Waffle is 1v1ing Stingus, and he takes him down through both summoners being expended. Now Lotus with a 4v1 on the map are going to make this one burn.
I think that's just game. It's a 50-second death timer on Stingus Necrox. There's multiple members still down. The inhibitor's open. It's just 2 for the base defense. Dokto's up in 15. Can they get it done?
Okay, they need to end this game right here, right now. Dusted Dawn is split pushing, and Jimmy's on the recall. It is Lotus looking to end it out, but Dusted Dawn still pushing the inhibitor. He drops that one, but it's only a trade. You are trading away for your Nexus. Nexus turret number 2 already down. They've taken their fight once again. Dusted Dawn still split pushing as JBL's on wave clear duty. Nexus exposed, and who flashed that fight? Blunder, as Lotus take their game 1 of the grand final.
What a way to start this here, Necrox. I mean, the start felt a little bit slow. We didn't see the signature Jimmy aggression, but my goodness, when the action started, it did not stop. The teams went back and forth. We had the team fights. We had the desperation, the flanks, the split push, and we ended with possibly the most baffling base race attempt I've seen. I don't really understand why Dustin Dawn did that.
Not a base race.
Yeah, it's not really a base race. He didn't have minions, and that was not a hull breaker gangplank by any stretch. So it felt a little bit desperate at the end there from Dustin Dawn. But Lotus, man, this is why Lotus over and over again, we keep talking about Waffle Wheel. When he finally came online, they just won every single team fight.
Yeah, they absolutely did, RMC, and I think the characterization of this game for both teams a little bit will be messy, right? Will be messy. It's great for us. It's bloody. It's tight. These guys are going back and forth as they have all season, all excellency history, but there are clear mistakes in the composition. Lotus had a very controlled lead in the early game. They lost that one very quickly. They swung it back in their favor, seemed to lose it again, and finally one last mistake by who flashed that fight with Dustin Dawn getting caught out around the Baron. Plenty of execution errors that these two teams can work on, but boy, oh boy, do we have a slobber knocker on our hands, gentlemen. Nobody's gonna back down. Everybody is trying to kill as much as they possibly can, and if that leads to mistakes, so be it, because that is great League of Legends.
What a game we had on our hands. That's game 1 of our grand finals. And we got to witness everything we wanted. We got to see the patented who flashed that fight aggression in the early game. VBO Jimmy making a return, outclassing the enemy opposition in the jungle. And then Waffle Wheel carrying the aggression he gets, flashing forward in the Featherstorm. Everything lines up so beautifully. Man, do we have a series on our hands. It is a best of 5. Lotus taking it up 1-0. But to break down what just happened and where we're going for the rest of the evening, we got an analyst test to throw it to, boys. Give me some insight. My heart needs a rest.
Thank you very much, Necrox and Boost. I have one thing to describe my feelings about that game. I would call that one a comedy of errors. Perhaps a tragedy of errors if you're a Who Flashed That Fight fan. Let's run through this one.
Yeah, so that game was definitely Who Flashed That Fights to lose. They had everything going for them. They had winning matchups in the top and bot lane. First Perome Prio on mid. You saw the Echo just solo invading the Diana at her Raptors, just constantly being a thorn in her side. The Trundle got the best start he could ask for. Rebuffed the Diana. He was up double her CS after the repeated ganks that she tried to get off. And they drafted such a strong bot side dive, and they just never went through with it. The only 2v2 that Who Flashed That Fight won bot side was basically because of a not missed Q. It was super close, and it should never be like that. That bot lane should always go in favor of Who Flashed That Fight. It should be a lot worse.
Yeah, and credit to the bot side from Lotus. Like, credit to Waffle Wheel, right? Because he had no business being where he was in the game and being able to come back online considering how the lanes were going, and especially considering how the jungle was going. Like, we saw in the jungle, Jimmy, who is actually being subbed out for Baka in game number 2, absolutely demolished the jungle from Lotus. Not Yoshi had nowhere to farm, was constantly fighting for his own buffs, and yet when push came to shove, they didn't take that jungle lead and make anything of it. It seemed to me like even though Jimmy was outclassing his opponent, he didn't make that known in any of the lanes. I mean, yes, you got a couple of kills, but those came off solo play.
Yeah, like I think the only lane he really tried to gank was mid lane. I remember he went top one time for a counter gank, but didn't show his face at all bot lane, even with such a strong dive threat with the Bona. But I don't know. It felt like he got off to such a great start, but just didn't do enough with it. And I mean, I kind of hate to put the game on like one person, but I also feel like Docto just overextended after plays were already done. He just tried to go for just a little bit too much and died in like very important timings, and that's what I think was the catalyst to enable Lotus back.
Yeah, and that's not to say that Lotus played an incredibly clean game either. Like we mentioned, not Yoshi, he got dumpster in the jungle, but that came off of him just deciding not to like, yes, he got a little bit of kerfuffle like level 1s, right? But he went off to other lanes and decided to go gank them when you are, a Diana and you're not going to have that much of an early gank impact. You really want to farm towards that level 6. And we saw him get behind like that, and that was enabled Who Flash the Fight to come in. Now, talking about other lanes, right? Looking at this top side of the map, this GP into TK matchup, obviously first blood of the game, that TK just accelerate just out of nowhere, completely totally taking Dust to Dawn out of that. I'm sure Accelerate will be very happy with that first blood in the top lane, but I don't think it's something we expected out of this TK. Obviously, like I had mentioned before in draft, yes, Tom Ken's shop is coming back in, but he's nowhere near as impressive as he once was. But this GP just kind of melted.
Yeah, so I mean, Gangplank's early laning phase this was just one of the best in the game, and you saw how he was bullying Accelerate for a while. But I always feel like, I don't know, this might just be me, but if Gangplank ever dies solo in a tank matchup, it's always his fault. Like, there's always something that he could have done to just avoid that. But, I mean, props to Accelerate for capitalizing on mistakes, but I feel like there's no way Gangplank should ever lose. At least not die. He should be able to just play safe and farm.
Yeah, and it kind of goes to, at the same point, this GP pickup, right? Traditionally a weak side top laner. My thoughts is like my immediate association when it comes to Dust to Dawn is Aatrox. Strong side top laner, winning the lane, taking that, making it go other places. But this game, they drafted a 4-strong bot side and a strong mid lane. They didn't win the mid lane matchup, despite the fact that Donamaker was very good on the Echo. Still got solo killed by an overextension early on, and that put him behind. And to put this delicately, Stingus is not a strong side bot laner. He does not gain the advantages he needs to draft a team comp around them. I want to see solo lane focus come in from Who Flash the Fight going into game 2.